Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is, at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is politics done right.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is, at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is politics done right.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being with me. We're going to have a great show today. We're going to be talking about you know what. Let's see, try to listen with technical difficulties. Well, Tom Sutherland, keep trying because I think we have a clean connection here that you should do it. But we're going to have a great show for you today. Right now, what I'm doing is I'm getting a few things up on Instagram, and then we'll be ready to go. But here is the deal. Good afternoon, Christy Hill. How are you doing? Cameron Michaels, welcome aboard. Trump numero uno. I love that. I love the way you put that exclamation sign. John Bauer, great to be here. Great to see you here. Look, folks, I'm kind of waiting for us to build a little momentum here. But look, before I even get started, I want to tell you guys about something great that is happening here in Houston, Texas. We have several indivisible groups that we formed out here, and they are functioning and they are clicking on all cylinders. The resistance is here to ensure that we move forward. Good morning, Sadie. Good morning, Marilyn Bourne. Good morning, everybody. Nice to see you guys around. Remember, we're having that rally at City Hall that we're arranging with Indivisible Houston beginning at 3 p.m. on Sunday. 3 p.m. on Sunday, we're going to have a lot of speakers that are going to be talking a whole lot of issues relative to what's going on. Now, for those who think that those folks on that side always have so many issues that they want to go instead of concentrating on one, well, what we realize, folks, is we concentrate on one issue. Whatever it takes to move it forward. Okay, Mike Jones says he cannot hear. Is Mike Jones the only person who cannot hear on Facebook Live? Let me see. Let's make sure about that. If those of you who can hear, just let me know that you can hear so that we can know Mike Jones need to go ahead and repair something on his side, and then we'll get started with the show. So you can hear, great. So Mike Jones, go ahead and make a test on your equipment to verify that all is right. And from that, but anyhow, we are going to get started because guess what? I just clicked it onto Instagram. So we're ready to go. Hi, Lisa Evans, Tom Hines, Mike Jones, Luisa Oropesa Moya. Are you my Panamanian sister? Anyhow, folks, let's get busy. We're going to have a great show, like I said before, as soon as I pull it up on my pad. The show is actually titled, Cannot Allow Trump Respin of Fake News to Take Our Eyes Off of the Ball. Why did I come up with this topic? Last night I was on my spinner. I was spinning my heart away, or my legs away, because I have to take about 5-10 pounds off, lower the blood pressure, you know what I'm talking about. Anyhow, then came on Don Lemon interviewing Paris, one of Trump's spots. I think his name is Paris Denham or something like that. But anyhow, he tried to spin fake news as what the mainstream media was doing. And everyone who follows the show know that I am generally speaking, good morning, Bo. I'm generally very upset at mainstream media because they do not give appropriate context to the news. And you know what we do here is we provide context to the news. So therefore, what is it going to be all about? The Trump administration is trying to respin the mainstream media as the purveyors of fake news, while they brought it onto themselves with their general ineptitude and inability to conduct real journalism over the last few years, over the last few decades. You know, the reality is a lot of times they brought it on to themselves. Who agrees that they brought it on to themselves? Let me see those that acquiesce to that. Are they bringing it on to themselves? I see you agree. They are bringing it all on to themselves. Well, we're going to stop that. And today we're going to have two special guests with us as well. We're going to have Janine Loudon, who is one of the stalwarts on the board of directors of Coffee Party USA. And we're also going to have La Presidenta, the president of Coffee Party, with us as well. So you guys sit tight. We're going to introduce both of them shortly, but we know what time it is and what we have to do before the show. But beforehand, I need to do one other thing, and we need to go ahead and get that video placed on the appropriate network as well. And when you get a late start like I did today, all I can say, folks, is I apologize, but we're going to get started right now. So let me see. It is time for you know what. It is time for you know what, if it works.
It's time for the weekly blog post.
Well, the weekly blog post had to do with Don Lemon, of course, because like I said, I wrote it. You know, I saw it last night. I had to finish up my Bill Maher blog and got sleepy at 3 this morning. So I got a few hours of sleep and said, okay, let's go ahead and write this one, because I was going to put it up at Coffee Party at 11 o'clock. But here it goes. The media is starting to play hardball with the false spin and fake news emanating from the Trump White House and spokesperson. Don Lemon let Trump's spokesman, Paris Denard, have it and did not allow him to spin. Lemon justifiably prevented Paris Denard from getting his false information into the ethos. One hopes this is now modus operandi. One hopes this is how the media is going to work with them. Now, I notice that CNN has been very hard. To put it bluntly, over the last few weeks, I've been very impressed with CNN, especially with Jake Tapper. And folks, I'm not here to advertise the mainstream media, but I tell you what, watch State of the Union, because Jake Tapper has really been working hard, and that is correct, Christy. He's been really making sure that the alternate media doesn't get its message out. In other words, they are no longer being allowed to spin. So far, CNN has been doing their job. MSNBC, supposedly the liberal bastion, is still debatable whether they're really doing their jobs. Anyhow, going back, Lemon justifiably prevented Paris Denard from getting his false information into the ethos. One hopes this is now modus operandi, as lies are never fully unrung. In other words, they tell a few lies on TV. You know what? A lot of people watch TV for 10, 15 minutes. The lie is there. If it's not rebutted immediately, they never get it. The lie remains in the ethos. And Trump The Trump administration knows that. That is why he's not scared to get on TV or get on the lectern, say a lie, let it stand for a while. Folks take a while to fact check it. By the time it's fact checked, all those people that heard that lie, it made it into the ethos. It is now the law of the land to many of our fellow Americans. That is what we have to fight. And that is why we have to be on our game to catch them immediately. I'm watching 2-3 channels at the same time many times. And what I do, something happens, you blog about it immediately, you throw it out on the internet, on the tweets, on Instagram or whatever, because you want to populate the folks to know, yes, it is a lie. It has to be mitigated. This is how the conversation went. You just heard from Foreman laid out, Don Lemon said. Between the First Lady living in New York to weekends in Mar-a-Lago, the cost of protecting the first family could be epic, but that has always been the responsibility of the Secret Service. So is there anything different now? Paris, what do you think? Here comes Paris. I think this is fake news, Paris said. This is not a news story. Don Lemon did not let the accusation go unanswered. Tell me, what about it is fake, Paris? Lemon interjected exasperatedly as the panel laughed in ridicule. They laughed him off the screen, to put it bluntly. Let me just tell you why, Paris replied. The president is not breaking any laws and he is not doing anything. Okay, Paris, Lemon interjected. Hold on. Let me ask you this. Do you actually know what is the definition of fake news? What we are doing right now, Paris replied ignorantly. And I say ignorantly because I don't want to use the appropriate word, which would be uncivil to say, because this is not a legit story, is what he said. It is clear that Lemon realized he needed to school Paris to ensure the audience did not conflate the definition of fake news and the attempt by the Trump administration to deceive the American public. So what happened? Then you are part of the fake, this is what he said. Then you are part of the fake news because you are on the network, Lemon said as Paris shouted like an insolent kid. But there it comes. And this is where I think Lemon excelled. And you are part of that. Let me explain to people out there watching what fake news really is. Fake news is when you put out a story to intentionally deceive someone you know that is wrong. I don't know of anyone who has put out a story in the mainstream media that I can think of right now to intentionally deceive anyone. People get things wrong. Sources sometimes come up empty, but no one I know has put out something to intentionally deceive someone. This story that we are doing right now is not to intentionally deceive anyone. We are simply talking about the cost to keep the president safe, the Secret Service cost, and where the pros and cons are. And as Andre said, if there are ways that we may be able to work on that to make it fiscally better for the American people. There is nothing fake about that. Please stop it with that stupid talking point that it is a fake news story. If you don't want to participate in the news story on this network, then don't come on and participate. But don't call them fake because you don't agree with them. So go on, Paris. This is your turn, Paris. Don Lemon, this is a fake story in my opinion, Paris replied, because the underlying assumption that... And then he was immediately cut off by Don Lemon. Okay, guys, good night. Don then walked off of the set decidedly angry, but he did a great job in stopping the deception. He did a great job in stopping the deception. Folks, what do you think? The telephone number is 646-929-2495. Again, 646-929-2495. Now I'll bring on Debbie Lynn Molineux, the president of Coffee Party, and Janine Loudon, our stalwart board member. How are you doing, ladies? How are thou doing today?
Hey, Egberto, this is Debbie Lynn, and doing great this morning. What a lively and passionate open for your show.
Well, you know, we have to try to do it. We have to not let people fall asleep when they have a whole lot of work to do out there. You know what I mean? We have a lot of work for people to do. So you have to keep them up. That's why after today, we're going here in Houston, we're going to be going downtown in front of City Hall at 3 p.m. and we're going to do it all over again with new speakers, with better voices, with good voices all along. So how are you doing today?
Hi, this is Janine, and I love the idea that I'm stalwart. I think I'm going to make superhero character stalwart.
I think that is but wonderful. Folks, for those...
I'm very excited about this topic.
Absolutely.
That makes it even better because I'm also kind of stalwart about the integrity of our speaking. And so these two are coming together really well for me today.
So then I'm going to leave the floor to you, Jenny. Tell us something about what you think about what's going on in our politics today relative to fake news and where it is taking us. And for those on Facebook, periodically, if you want to get into the conversation, if you don't want to call in, I'll read whatever you put on the screen. But folks, do remember it is a call-in show as well, and you can speak. You can, if you're at your computer, you can use Skype. Skype us as well. The telephone number is 646-929-2495. I'd love to hear some of your voices as well. But anyhow, come on in, Janine.
Well, I
Debbie,
think I would take. Go ahead.
I was going to go ahead and start, Janine, because we kind of planned a side show here for you, Alberto.
I love your side shows.
So just quickly, I wanted to point out that on my Facebook page today, I reshared a story that I had from 4 years ago talking about how every presidential election cycle, our democracy is at risk. Every 4 years. And 4 years ago, what we were talking about was money in politics. But this year, we're less focused on the money in politics, and we're more focused on our narratives. And so, half of our country, depending on which half you're in, is confused about what the facts are. Or we have different facts that compete. So the silver lining, I think, in our current situation is that mainstream media is starting to push back, as you're talking about, Alberto, on the disinformation and the propaganda. And the local rising of indivisible groups across the country, which is awesome, is another way that we're pushing back against disinformation and propaganda. And we're going to come through this with a singular narrative, an American narrative, that we're going to tussle over for a while until we get there. Janine?
Oh, great. Well, from your opening, Alberto, I sort of have my initial take, which is if you want to think about fake news, think birthers, right? The whole birther movement started by our current president, basically, or at least made viral.
Right.
And for how many years and for how long, and totally based on what we, in my world, call misinformation and character assassination. And maybe that's too many letters, to describe fake news, but it was never a real story, never. They made it one. Another one that year after year, and when Debbie Lynn and I did a radio show together, we could virtually play the War on Christmas show every year.
Imagine that. I do remember that.
I mean, the War on Christmas is just, it's there's no truth to it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so the whole idea that things like this could catch traction, it's like whoever believes in character assassination and misinformation has been practicing for years. And now it's really come to the forefront. And it's interesting because having been sensitized to this for so long, and as a blogger and poster and radio show host, trying to help people work themselves through what it looks like when they're being, when it's like a con, but I don't want to go say, oh, everyone's a con, but it is propaganda strategy. It is, it's crazy making.
No.
But it's well-honed marketing. It's well-honed marketing to a target market that's very well defined. And so that's really, as those of us who speak to civility and reason.
Now,
so that's a good start, yeah.
Yeah, but I want to tell you, I love what you said, but there's one thing that I think you use the word con and then you back out of the word con, right? Because you thought that somehow maybe that's not all that, civility. No, actually, I think, what does con mean, Debbie Lynn? It's to deliver a false story,
right?
power grab.
So it's a con. So it is okay if the statement that you're making in my humble opinion, is a con. I think we have to call it as a con with love, nicely, but it's a con. Is our
No, but remember,
yes.
I have to say, con is short for confidence game.
True.
Right?
True.
This
True.
is a confidence game, and I think it's actually better described as a sales and marketing plan.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I come from a business background, right? There is no difference between a confidence game and a marketing strategy. They use the same pieces, parts, elements. The difference, I think, socially, is whether this is for ill-gotten gain or to legitimately sell a product, right? So it's really the quality of the product that matters more than the game they're using. And that's why I backed off from the word con, because I really think that people understand what that word means, but it has a negative connotation. And yet those are the same tactics one would use to sell your car.
Right.
It's the same. But the consequence today, given that this whole, and I'm going to use another word, this whole grifter mentality has come into the forefront and actually become fashionable and admirable. Mm-hmm. I think that specificity in speaking is important. So thanks.
I agree. Go ahead, Devlin.
I want to just jump in here with one thing to talk about this kind of sales and marketing thing that Name's referring to, because I don't know how many of your listeners and watchers at Egberto have seen. There's actually TV ads about the Supreme Court nominee right now.
Yes, I saw those.
God, how could we possibly? Sales and marketing is the only way to describe that.
Yes. But Debilin, did you also notice the ad for the Supreme Court justice made? And when both of you speak about sales and marketing, it is so true, because if you look at the ads for what's the Supreme Court's name? I don't even remember anymore. But anyhow, that ad, Gorsuch, yeah, that ad actually said something interesting. It is Obama, somebody that worked with the administration, is supporting. So even going at who consider the Obama voters as, let's say in this case, the swing voters. Gorsuch, thank you very much, Cindy, to say that. And by the way, let me bring some of the folks in the fold. Christie calls the con a fraudulent claim of reality. We have John Barr, who said a con by definition telling lies to cheat and manipulate in order to overpower, deceive, and steal. So yes, folks, I mean, all those things are definitions, and what we're happening to live through right now. Jessica Hopkins, TV marketing ads for SCUDAS. This is insane. How insane is it, Debilin?
Well, I've never seen it before. I actually, when I saw the first ad, I looked up the PAC or the 501c4, whatever kind of group it is that's doing the ads, and we're supposed to be citizens, not consumers of politics, and and so then I kind of go back and look at what's the motivation behind these ads, and I have a feeling, and this is just a wild guess on my part, that the Senate offices are getting slammed with so many phone calls that they're spending $10 million on this campaign, trying to slow the number of phone calls going into the Senate offices, because they've never seen this level of activity before.
Right, and they're doing some other spin. They're trying to deceive people or demobilize them, or what is it? What word that you want to take over your spirits? They want to tell people that, that is just your. They want to disempower them.
Disempower folks.
Right, and by telling them
using a propaganda technique. So let's tell people a happy, smiley story about what's going to happen if this guy gets confirmed.
Exactly.
As a way to say your opinion is wrong and doesn't matter.
It doesn't really matter. But I mean, you know what? That is one of the reasons we are here now. But I mean, I want to do a segue to seg back, but it goes as follows. One of the things that we have to work on is a lot of folks. We have some callers here that would call in sometimes and give the message that don't take your eye off the ball. Yes, we see all these strange things happening all the time. We see Donald Trump putting out the fake news stories, We see Donald Trump trying to delegitimize the media. We see many of his spots is going out there and trying to make things look as we know they aren't. And a lot of times these are all smoke screens. We have some very important work to do. One of the things, right, for those of you who are listening to this show right now, listening to both, let's say, Devlin and Janine coming in over the wires, you guys are coming in over the air and in different modals. We have to make sure that things that occur behind the scenes, specifically net neutrality, is the thing that I talk about every single time I get a chance of. Net neutrality is the ability for all of us. Is the ability. Let me answer the question. Of course, we are on Coffee Party Network. We're in Coffee Party Network. Anything with regard, and Coffee Party is also an activist group doing things. So yes, we want to talk about that as well. Net neutrality is what allows myself, Debbie Lynn, Janine, to have different radio shows on the Coffee Party Network. Net neutrality is what allowed me to simulcast my KPFT show on air on Facebook as well, without having an inordinate charge to work with. With Trump having to appoint a chairperson to that, they could mess with that and allow Verizon and all these other people to add tiering to these types of programs, to streaming, whereas you will be required to pay more. And even though that doesn't directly affect the media, what it does affect is our ability here to put out the necessary information.
Well, we were going to talk about Stay Involved, which is a Coffee Party campaign that we're having a lot of fun with. And I'm going to start by giving you a little bit of background.
Okay.
So first of all, long ago, during the primaries, which feels now like forever ago,
yes,
right?
Yes.
John Oliver, it's a long time. John Oliver did this great rant, and he on his John Oliver This Week Tonight, Last Week Tonight, he talked about how crazy it was for a candidate to go from, being a candidate to being a nominee.
Right.
And he specifically was talking about, 10 different things that were just crazy making process. Well, long story short, he said in America, every 4 years we figure out what's wrong with our election process. We see the mistakes. They're in our face. They get used against us, kind of smart and loopholing. It's not right. Every 4 years we figure it out. And then there's an election, and we go to sleep. We forget. We're all so exhausted, we just think, oh, God, it's over. And then we go to sleep. And then 4 years later, there we are again, relearning what's wrong with this system. So his idea, which I loved, was to say, okay, what we need to do is right now, before we've gone through that exhausting process, we need to make a date. And
we have the Indivisible movement that's doing its thing. What is Coffee Party USA doing with this Stay Involved movement? Tell us, what are we doing? And not only that, let's use this opportunity to encourage other people, even those in the Indivisible movement, to join with Coffee Party, because we have that mass ability to put out data on our over 1.1 million people Facebook page that can reach hundreds of thousands every single day. So tell us how we can partner and do things.
Yeah, thanks, Egberto. First of all, I just have to say, Coffee Party is an issue-oriented 501c4, and while most of the folks in Coffee Party agree with what Indivisible is doing, it's not officially sanctioned by the Coffee Party because it is anti-candidate. It's anti our elected president. So, but even given that, I want to say that there's large support for the issues that Coffee Party stands for within the Indivisible movement. So there's no conflict, if you would, in the two groups. But the first thing I want to talk about with Stay Involved was this whole idea that we ginned up back in August, really was to talk about how to not do this groundhogging that Name was talking about, how to not forget what we learned about our elections process until the next time it comes.
Right.
And so we developed Stay Involved, and we gave it over to a team of volunteers, and they developed 4 streams of activity within the coffee party for staying involved. The first one was, the first activity stream was called Healing the Divide, and it's helping people have those cross-party or difficult conversations.
Right.
And Coffee Party Talks is one of the ways we do that. The second stream was Take It National. We partnered with the Washington, and we also get other opportunities to take it to our elected officials in Washington, D.C.
Mm-hmm.
This third activity stream is Take It Local, encourage and support our local people getting together locally. This is where they align well with indivisible. And then the fourth activity stream is social media call to action, specifically for our party goals. And the end state goals for Coffee Party include electoral reform, tax reform, anti-corruption reform, inclusive empowerment, and local empowerment. So those are the 5 main Coffee Party goals that we work on as an issue-based advocacy group.
That is excellent. Now tell us a little bit about the Coffee Party Talks, because I think where we're trying to get people to interact with each other so that they can work as one, I think that is one of the most important concepts of this set of things that we're doing. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so Coffee Party Talks is we're actually using the technology developed by Living Room Conversations, and it's using a conversation guide with a group of 6 people who have an intentional diversity in the conversation to talk about our political issues or even what we want for America. There's over 50 topics on the Living Room Conversation site. We have 5 of them on the Coffee Party webpage under Coffee Party Talks. And it's really a matter of finding a host, sitting down, by each of you, inviting 2 people, and then following a conversation. Have you done some of these little conversations?
Right,
What was your take on that?
I love the living room
Why don't you?
Sure. What I love about living room conversations is you get people of different viewpoints communicating among each other in a fashion that we don't get because of the I don't want to just say incivility in our conversations in today's world, but because we're moving so fast on the news networks where we don't talk to each other, we talk past each other. On every single one of the living room conversations calls that I had with you, we had people with diverse viewpoints. I mean, people as left as I am, and people as middle as you and you are, and people as to the right, if you remember the specific one that we had. And the one thing we were able to do is because we made the commitment to first listen to what other people were saying. We listened to what they had to say, and we weren't looking to immediately respond to what they were saying. We were trying to listen to what they were saying to understand what they were saying, and then formulating our response to that, whether sometimes favorably, sometimes we disagreed with that. But the idea is that is how communication starts. I can tell you one thing, and this is on a personal note, and I'm coming to you 559 to answer that call in a second. This is personal. When I started my activism was when I came here to college several decades ago, and in doing that, I was probably one of the wildest people out there. When we were fighting to get the University of Texas out of South Africa, we were militant, and that's how we did things. When I worked for corporate America after that, it was, you hit who you really were, but you were still doing that sort of a thing. After that, however, during the Bush administration, again, it went to the point where guys like myself, we were really out there. You know how we got started in Coffee Party. I met some folks at Coffee Party, and because of Coffee Party, we started to try the civil way in communicating with each other. After doing that, we learned that it could actually be more effective. And for those of you in Houston who know me and those otherwise, that is a modality that I've been running by since, and that's bringing people together, talking through differences, and even if you disagree with them completely, you try to find some commonality. You're not at blows with them, but you can actually attain something. And I can tell you that it is ultimately fruitful. Now let me bring in 559. 559. I think that's Devlin, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
You're looking for the
210. Oh, there we go. John, come on in, John. How you doing today?
Good afternoon, Egberto. How you doing?
Great. Talk to me, my friend. Oh, before you say anything,
Yeah.
hold a second, John, because I want to Cindy, who is the leader of leader of the Indivisible TXO2, which is here in Texas. She's listening to the show and she is asking, "Hey, can Coffee Party present to us?" So sure we can. We'll talk about that, Cindy. Okay, John, come on in.
Yeah, I just want to, I agree with some of the things that you're talking about. You're talking about a lot of sociological issues, and those are interesting. But I mean, we have to look at what we're really facing here with the Trump presidency and a Republican Congress, and we really need to focus on, the damage that the Republicans can do. And we're looking at the ACA, where 30 million people are going to lose their health insurance. We're looking at 52 million people with pre-existing conditions who could also lose their insurance. We have an 18-page plan that put out by the Republicans a couple of days ago, which is put out by Paul Ryan, which will not, it actually has, if you look at the subsidies, the whole premise of the ACA
is gone, yeah.
was to have people who could afford health insurance make sure that they can get health insurance because they were poor. Now, the Ryan plan is based on age. And so they're saying that, like somebody like Rex Person, who is 64 years old, would pay the same amount as somebody who's 64 years old who's in poverty. And so, I just think that these issues are coming up, and we need to really focus on how the Republicans are, going to really drastically change the country. And it's not the we need to talk about also, but the Republicans themselves are doing this. And so I just feel that, this isn't just about being civil and being nice. This is about the damage that will be done to this country.
Let me interrupt a second. I know where you're going. We speak a lot. I remember, and this is important what I'm going to say here. You're absolutely right that we are in a crisis. You're absolutely right that these changes that are being made for some people, it's life or death. It's absolutely true. Now, those people who know that already, right? Those who agree with me and those who will give me the honor to speak to them. And when I say speak to them, I have to first get them to listen to me. So right now, this isn't a sociological class per se. This is the other side of the coin. In other words, I'm saying, I'm sorry that I'm bringing up for you, Jessica. This is the other side of the coin. In other words, tomorrow we are going out there to do exactly what you're talking about. Tomorrow at 3 p.m. on City Hall, that is exactly what we will be doing. But the tenet of this program and why Debbie Lynn and Janine wanted to be on the program is how do we hit the other side. But let me give Debbie Lynn a little bit to say something here. Debbie Lynn.
Yeah, thanks, Egberto. It's John, I totally hear and understand. In no way do I advocate to not pressure our elected representatives. I actually think the pressure is very useful. But to me, the pressure is the immediate short-term response and strategy that needs to happen to protect people in society today. The long game is about coming back to a singular narrative for our country rather than us living in two different narratives. And that's only going to happen if we actually practice some type of listening with each other. And everybody has different levels within these different roles. And you may be a complete activist, and I may be a complete conversation person. But as long as we're both doing our job, we're going to get there together.
John?
Right. I think that certain people have convictions and certain people don't. Right now, I've been following politics ever since I can remember. My father was a union politician, and so I guess I was instilled pretty early, my beliefs, and I feel very strongly about them. My beliefs basically, are very similar to, Bernie's beliefs, and, if you look at the Nordic model economically,
right.
I believe very strongly in that. And so, I agree that we should listen to other people, but, at the same time, I mean, if you don't believe in anything, you will fall for anything. And so I have strong beliefs, and, and I have a hard time listening to people who I already know what they're going to say. I already know that's their talking points. I mean, and so, it's good to listen. It's good to have a conversation. But to me, being an activist is actually in promoting the ideas that, like single payer, like free college, there's so many other issues that I believe in. I mean, this having a strong social safety net. Those are what are important to me. And, if you look at this country, it's really the propaganda that's being put out by the right wing is influencing people, all the time. And I hope that the individual movement will have a big impact on elections in 2018 and 2020. And if you look at polling so far, it seems to be met. But I think the issues are the most important things, and that we should be focused on issues more so than basic, sociology.
John, let me just.
This is Janine. I have to push in here because I got right on, John. So here's the thing. Some people mistake the idea that we come from a perspective of civility and reason to say we're panty waifs, man, and we just, we have tea and coffee and put out our little pinky and talk, right? I promise you, I was at the Women's March in D.C. I participate locally. As a matter of fact, in my little town, we have an action. People show up from the Republican Party, the Democratic Party, the Working Families Party, the independent, indivisible parties represent us. That is Occupy, the Women's March, Democracy Spring, and more. We're all here. And part of what we do at Coffee Party is try to bring all this information-wise. So I have dedicated now my radio show, Thursday noon, to a thing I call Power to the People. And I will read off and communicate every single action anyone communicates to me. Any action. If you go to the Lunch with Loudon Facebook page, you will see I post every single action anyone shares with me. I update those actions. I read them aloud on the radio. We talk about them on the radio. So it's really, 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 it's, by the way, Debbie Lee reminded me, it's noon Pacific on Thursdays. That's 3 p.m. Eastern. And I never know the time in the so-called live they talk about our lies. But anyway, oops. Anyway, it's like, but part of being, even in those actual terms, even in those very specific things, one I'm hot with here is healthcare for all. And Oregon is committed to going to a single-payer state no matter what the feds do, right? And so maybe between us and Massachusetts and another or two, we'll show the way, right? But I cannot stress local action. But when I was in D.C. at the Women's March, there's 1 million people there, right? So there were a few hecklers as we walked by. Because we had that attitude, we are of solidarity and mutual support, even though every point of view from immigrants are not illegal, or women's rights, or Black Lives Matter, or science matters. I mean, I can't tell you all the signs and all the groups that I saw there. Nobody bought in. And so part of what we hope to do in not what we communicate, but how we communicate, is that you just don't have to respond to vitriol with vitriol. And you don't have to respond to hate with hate. And so even every day on our Facebook page, there is a combination of posts. There's a post every hour, if not more often. Breaking news comes right in. It doesn't matter. What we're talking about there is not only how do we relate to people who are different from us. We do that too. But we also say, hey, look what happened on a day without immigrants. Look what happened on the general strike. Look forward to March 8th for the Day Without Women. I mean, we're promoting these activities in a huge scale. So I don't know why civility has taken on the demeanor of being a sissy, right? And if it is, then being a sissy is pretty rockin', because I am more powerful. I am more powerful telling people, when they, you walk by somebody and they give you the California howdy. That's what we call flipping the bird on the left coast, the California howdy. If I take my finger and shake it and say, shame on you, young man.
Right.
Man, they're mortified. If I had returned in kind, I'm just another one of them. So, that's a silly example, but I got to tell you, there's nothing sissy about civility. It's hard work. Try it.
Now, I want to add something to that I think is important, right? And this is to address John as well. I have no ideology where it comes to reaching people, right? So whereas I know Debbie Lynn personally and Janine personally, and they are, I think, ultimately very civil all of the times that I've ever seen them. I will adapt to my environment, and there's there are some characteristics that I can't control that created that within me, that makes me adapt to different environments, and that's what I do. And it goes the same way in the activist domain. I adapt to the environment to try to get the best results in that environment. And I think, when I'm with Coffee Party, I am the civil. I'm out there at a Black Lives Matter march where different tactics are being used or need to be used. I do that as well. So please don't ever think that we only have one tactic. And I think Debbie Lynn mentioned this earlier. She said she does what she does because she's going in the same direction that you're going, and you need to do what you need to do to move us into that direction. John, come on in.
Okay, so I don't mean to be too harsh here, but because I do believe that civility is important, but to me, having the issues and winning on the issues that I personally support is more important, and I'll be very honest with that. Let me take for the example. Mm-hmm. You were talking about single payer in Oregon, and
yes.
I hope that can happen. Okay. Now, in Vermont, they passed the bill, and they tried to put in place Governor Shumlin, and he realized that the taxes, because the taxes that were going to be put into this, that he wasn't sure how the public would accept it. Basically, he stopped the plan. Okay, you take Colorado single payer. It was on the ballot last year. The polling was about 20 points ahead, and then all the insurance companies came. They started advertising. It ended up losing by about 20 points. And so we talk about long-term goals. The long-term goal for me is to have people understand that it does cost a lot of money for single payer, and the idea is that that rich people and even upper middle class people and even some middle class people will have to pay more taxes, and this is part of the plan. And that's very hard for the American public,
John, I want to interrupt.
Liberal states to agree with.
I need to interrupt for one thing, because even in statement that you just gave, is one of the reasons I think we have a hard time with single payer, right? And I think we discussed this before. Telling folks that single payer, yes, it's going to cost more, is not really what we should ever say, because it really isn't true. It really costs less.
That's not that. Okay, I mean, I would suggest to you, Alberto, to go ahead and Google all of the articles in the year of 2014 with Governor Shumlin was talking about. Now, they passed this in 2011, and all it was a matter was implementing the money for this, and
right.
he refused to do it because the taxes, there would be a state increased tax of about 10% on average.
Let me stop you
so
right
they
there.
Would go from
I have to stop you there.
average.
Let me tell you, that is, I understand that. I understand that it's 10% increase in taxes, but it's not true, because that is assuming you don't call health insurance that people pay privately and all the other domains around privately. Those, if you bunch all those in as the taxes, and that's what I'm saying, we have to get our narrative correct, because we cannot, if it costs more, there's no reason to do it. It costs more. There's no reason to do it. I don't care who's paying. It costs, single payer is more efficient and costs less.
It does not cost less. I mean, you look at every European country, I studied this intensely, and the taxes that are paid are much higher. I mean, there is no comparison. The people in Europe are willing to do this because they want single payer. They have the moral compass to realize that everybody is entitled to health insurance. And the reason this is being held back in America is because Americans don't feel that way.
Okay.
And to not talk about the taxes is you're defeating the purpose. You have to be honest with the American people.
Don, I don't want to belabor this one, but because other people are going to listen to this in the podcast and so forth, I just have to put this out. The aggregate numbers. If you look at the aggregate numbers, if the cost of insurance per person every other country is less, and we are selling, and forget about taxes, forget about everything else number. Let's just talk numbers. If the aggregate cost of single payer per person in this country drops because of single payer, which means we get rid of all the other inefficiencies from advertising, CEO pay, to the shareholder value that they get, the shareholder, etc. When you take all those numbers out, it is true we will pay more taxes, but it is also true we won't pay health insurance charges. For me, that's over $12,000, over actually $14,000 a year. It's very important that we actually put it correctly, because otherwise it cannot get done. But we'll get numbers off, and I just want my audience to hear that particular part of this discussion. Go ahead, John.
Okay, I mean, I agree with that. But the fact is that especially upper class people
will
need
pay
to pay more taxes.
Yes.
If you look at the highest or the lowest income inequality, it was the period from World War II before the Reagan tax cut.
Yes.
And that's because the rich paid higher taxes.
Yes.
And ever since Reagan came in, we've been faced with this incredible inequality, and that's what's driving all of these changes in our economy. And that's why, unfortunately, people don't understand that. And that's the biggest problem in America right now, is that people accept trickle-down economics, and they voted for that in the election, even at a higher rate for Republicans than for Trump.
Yeah. Now, what we are doing, and that is why I wanted to make this statement that I just did previous, because that's a fight that we have, John. And you've been doing a great job of it. John calls into both of my shows, and he usually throws the numbers out. That's John. So, I mean, but we all have to do that, but we all have to build the audience that we're given this to, and we also have to do it in a way that it touches them, because just the facts and numbers don't do it. We have to do more than facts and numbers. We have to personalize all this to the individual person that that, to that person in Kingwood or to that person in Seattle or whatever, we have to get the buy-in from them somehow. We don't have to worry. The upper class folk, right? They'll do fine. They'll be fine. I have really well. Look at me and thank you very much for having been here, my friends. Anyway, Don, you can continue. Let me go ahead and see what else I need to get addressed here on the screen. Let's see. Don Bauer says, we're not going to solve ACA here, but we do need to learn how to listen, negotiate, and understand that everyone comes to the table with a need for security. That is great. Thank you very much for that thought. We also have Christy. Communication with respect and civility. If treated with aggressive, angry attack, discontinue if threatening. True. Let's go to Christy again. We have no organization. And if it is concerning, Devin gave you some information on that. And understand it is fear that undergirds all politics. Fear about meeting basic needs, fear of insecurity, fear of powerlessness. We have to learn how to listen, that fear, acknowledge it, and then negotiate, see more. Okay, I have to go down there. But anyhow, John, we're coming close to the end of the show. So as usual, you get a chance to give us a closer.
Okay, the ACA also, there was something, executive order, and that was put into place. It wasn't talked about a lot, but, so essentially the IRS is not going to enforce mandate next year. So what's probably going to happen is the insurance companies, the collapse, even though if they don't overturn the repeal of the ACA, you're going to start seeing these collapsing markets. I was talking about that in a lot of press reports from the very beginning, ever since Trump was elected. And so people aren't talking about this, but insurance markets are collapsing because of the Trump administration and because of essentially, I mean, we'll see what happens with repeal. I don't think that the replacement is a joke. Their plan is basically what happened pre ACA.
Right.
So, I mean, tens of millions of people are going to lose their health insurance. But I think it is important because their narrative is going to be, this is falling apart.
Right.
And we really have to push back and say, no, you made this fall apart. Personally, we need to talk about all the individual things that Trump has done to make this fall apart. And one of the things was to cut off the advertising. About 200,000 people signed up, less than last year just because of the advertising was cut off.
John, that is a very, very important point that you just made, that we have to, because they are instigating the collapse of the markets, then to say it doesn't work, then something has to be done. We have to address that, and we have to address that before it occurs, which is exactly what you're saying. So thank you very much for being on the show as usual, my dear friend. And I'd like to thank all of our listeners, both on air, both on Blog Talk Radio and on Facebook Live. Thank you so kindly for listening. Remember to go to our webpage, Politics and Right with Egberto Willies, and like the page. You'll get a notification whenever we're doing something good. And as Janine says, activism rocks. Join the Coffee Party USA movement, join the Coffee Party USA and Lunch with Loudon for promotion of all events. Thank you so kindly for having been here. You guys have a wonderful day. C'est la vie. And with that, we are out.
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is politics done right.
1, 2, 3, 4.